In today's class, let us understand about effects of load when it is variable on the power system. Whenever it varies, what will be its effects on power system? Generally, we know that in a power system, the load keeps on varying from time to time because of various reasons like uncertain demands of the consumers. So we call that as variable load on the station. Because a large number of consumers are involved and we need to meet their load demands, always the load is variable in nature. So we need to keep in mind that while designing and building a power station, we must make the efforts so that the economy also should be maintained and also per unit cost generation and also the supply should be maintained, as well as it should be low as much as possible. And if you are successfully able to do that, then our power companies will generally be benefited and they get the profit, and once they get the profit, you can maintain the reliable service. So in order to know what will be the exact cost for the production of electrical energy, we must consider various components, but it is not easy. It's a highly complex procedure to decide exact cost of the power generation. In order to do that, there are several factors which may affect the cost, like land, equipment, and the equipment depreciation price, and overall interest variations. All these things will play a vital role. Therefore, what we have to do, we must do the careful study has to be done, the calculations has to be properly done. So let us see what are the different parameters we must do here in order to understand that. First and foremost thing what we must remember is, we know that once the variable load on the power system, we require additional this equipment. So this initially we would have not calculated it. Once the variable load comes into picture, additional equipment is must, because the load is varying and it is the additional equipment is desirable. Also, we must remember that in order to fulfill that load demand, these additional materials play an important role, and the cost also of these additional materials has to be taken into the consideration for the overall cost analysis. So let us take an example that if the power demand on a particular plant increases, so what will happen now? The plant has to fulfill the load demand. In order to fulfill that load demand, let us imagine if it is a thermal power station, you need to increase the coal intake, air and the water requirement and the boiler size, everything has to be increased as per the new demand now. Now what will happen? Because of this, the additional equipment has to be obviously installed. So now what will happen now? Once this additional investment is, now we are investing that, the additional cost will be, will demand additional price. So, and price on that particular day, all those things has to be taken care of. Next parameter is increased in the production cost. Now, why the production cost will increase? The variable load on the plant increases, the cost of production of the electrical energy, it's obvious. Whenever there is a demand, more the demand, more is the cost of the price. So, on that basis, so generally an alternator operates at maximum efficiency near the rated capacity. If let us imagine the capacity of the alternator is 100 watts. So if you are generating 100 watts, it will be able to produce maximum efficiency. If you go beyond, definitely the efficiency will be very less or very poor. And also if you generate very less, that is 10 watts out of 100 watts, then also it is going to affect the efficiency. So there are two conditions which may lead to this. But one is very less demand and the other one is very high demand. So both the cases, what will happen? The alternator will not be operating on the exact specified capacity. So other than the specified capacity, they will be operating. Because of that, generally what will happen, we are not utilizing the maximum capacity of the alternator. That means the value what we have paid for that, it's of no use. Hence, obviously in the both the cases, the production cost is going to affect. Next is effect of variable load on power plant design. Now in this case, we would have designed the power plant keeping in mind what is the maximum demand that has to be generated in this case. But this factor will be largely influenced by various other factors like increased demand, variable load, and the ever increasing load demand. So this will obviously change overall parameters, and the design factor also will change now. So keeping in this mind, the overall per variable load on the power system design, obviously it is going to increase, and the cost of the equipment will not remain same throughout the years. If suppose we have installed one equipment 10 years back and the same has to be installed after 10 years, then the cost would have been definitely varied, and we would have considered the generator price 10 years back price. So all these factors are definitely going to affect the plant. Next is operation wise. What will happen as you are changing the operation overall? There are various issues we are going to face. One may be shortage of manpower, shortage of resources. Then also the reserve capacity of the various equipments will not be ready to use whenever it's required. Then we call that as the capacity is known as spinning reserve. So the spinning reserve will not have enough capacity and represent the equipment standby and the normal conditions here. So because of that, it's so always the variable demand, again it plays a important role on the power plant operation. So these are the various factors which are going to affect whenever there is a change in load on the power system. So we must keep in mind the different parameters, then only the power system should be designed in such a way that we should be kept in mind that it is always possible to extend the overall generation. That has to be kept in mind, and we have to design a power station. Thank you.